Welcome to Naresh Technologies. I'm Bangar Raju, and in this video we'll just been discussing about how to use the join method in multithreading. So this is a part 4 of the multithreading videos. So in the previous video I was just been demonstrating about the thread start delegate and parameterized thread start delegate. Okay, so by using this, how to pass methods as a parameters to the threads. So what I explained in the previous video. So here we'll just understand about the join method that is available under the thread class. What are the use of the join method in the thread class? See, let's write a simple program, some simple functions here, like earlier we have been tried up. Static void test1 for int I is equals to 0 or I is equals to 1, I less than or equals to 25, and I plus plus console dot write line test1 plus I. Yeah, three methods. What I'm just defining. Come to main, static void main, and right now the execution starts from the main method, and there is a main thread which is going to start the execution. So just I'm writing console dot write line main thread started. Okay, and now I wanted to create 3 threads to call the 3 methods. Thread T1 is equals to new thread. So last class, in the last video we discussed, either we can pass the thread start delegate or directly we can pass the method name here, and when you pass the method name here, it internally will create you the thread start delegate instance and will be taking as a parameter. Okay, fine. Thread 2, thread 3, calling the 3 methods. And here I am writing console dot write line main thread exiting. And now if you run this, thread 1 will start the execution of the method test1. And once the execution is completed, here let's add console dot write line thread 1 is exiting, and the second method is executed by the second thread, thread 2 exiting and thread 3 exiting. And the same way on the top we'll write as thread 1 is starting, thread 2 is starting, and at the same time thread 3 is starting. Now if we run this code, let me open the project property window and we'll set this as a startup class. Okay, fine, and run this. When you run this, when we run this, if you just watch it, main thread started, main thread exiting. So both the 2 messages printed, main thread started, main thread is exiting. Why the other things did not execute? Because we have forgotten to call the start method. T1 dot start, T2 dot start, and T3 dot start. So like this we are just going to call all the 3 in this place. Fine, execute the code. So first execution starts with, see there, main thread starting, and main thread once it started the execution and created the first thread and started it, and the thread 1 is starting the execution and the execution is going on. And meanwhile what happened is, in the given time thread 1 could complete the work and thread 1 exited, and also main thread exited. Now thread 3 started and thread 3 is executing, and then thread 3 is also exited and thread 2 started and thread 2 also completed work. Actually it's not sharing the time, means that depends upon the operating system. We will not get the same output every time. So let's run one more time. So in the given time it's not just sharing the time. Let us go for increasing the size. We'll go with some 50. Run again. Now thread 1 started executing, thread 2 started, and also thread 3 started. They're sharing the time and executing. Okay, they're utilizing the time now, and that's not the point here. First main thread started, created thread 1 and given the control to thread 1, and afterward thread 2, thread 3, they will share the time and execute. Thread 1 completed, thread 2 started, meanwhile somewhere main thread exited, and thread 2 and thread 3, these two are sharing the time and trying to run the code. Okay, run the code, and finally thread 2 exited here, thread 3 exited. But the thing I want to show you here is main thread did not wait until all the threads complete the work. See, main thread is exiting first, not in the first, in the middle. Okay, if I run again, I may get a different output. So when exactly is the main thread going to execute from the code will not be in your control, but once the main thread starts the execution, at any point of time, once its work is completed, it can exit from the program. See, main thread exited now, and meanwhile thread 1 exited, and thread 2, thread 3 are exiting in the last. So what is the problem here is main thread should not be allowed to execute from the program in the middle. Means the execution completely started by the main thread, and this main thread only should be ending the execution also. Means it should not be allowed to get away from the program in the middle. But what is it doing? It is giving the control to thread 1, thread 2, thread 3, and it is going out of the program in the middle. So I don't want to allow the main thread to go out of the program in the middle like this. If you want the main thread to wait until all the threads are completing their work, what you require to do is you require to call join. So T1 dot join, T2 dot join, and T3 dot join. So if I call join, actually we are calling here. So who will execute this code? Main thread. Main thread is going to execute the code. Means we are calling join. So the main thread cannot exit from the program until all the child threads are finishing their job. Until all the child threads are finishing the job, main thread cannot get away from the program. Watch it and watch the difference in output. And if you notice the output here, main thread exited last. Main thread did not exit first. Main thread exited last. Main thread started and main thread exited last. So what happens when you call join? Join. The calling thread cannot exit from the program until all the other threads in the program are exiting from the program. Means you called join on T1. Until T1 exits, main thread cannot execute. Why I am talking main thread here is, who is calling join? Main thread is calling join now. Main thread is calling join. Why main thread? You have written the code in the main and this method is executed by the main thread. So who is calling join means main is calling join. So because the main thread is calling join here, until all the other threads are exiting from the program, main thread is not allowed to exit from the program. Watch the same. Meanwhile, somewhere I want to add a sleep. Somewhere I want to add a sleep. After completing the execution, I want to add a sleep here. Thread dot sleep for 5 seconds. Thread dot sleep for 5 seconds. Run again. This 5 seconds also main thread is going to wait. See there, if you watch it, now that 5 seconds, the main thread is waiting. Say thread 1 exited, until then the main thread did not execute. So this is the advantage of calling the join. So we need to call join. Generally, we call this particular join on main. The reason is to make it wait until all the child threads are finishing their execution. So if all the child threads are finishing their execution, so what will happen now? The main thread will exit in the last. So first all the subthreads or the child threads will exit, and finally the main thread exits. And this join has an overloaded constructor. It has an overloaded method. It has an overloaded method. you can just pass the timeout here. What is the timeout? The timeout is, say, I am just going to give some timeout, some 3000 milliseconds. So main thread will wait for 3000 milliseconds for T1 to exit from the program. Meanwhile, if T1 exits, okay. If it doesn't exit, main thread will exit. Okay, watch it. So if you notice it, main thread exited first. Why main thread exited first? The reason is thread 1 is waiting for 5 seconds, but main thread wait time is only 3 seconds what we given. Until and unless the child thread is executing, main thread is not waiting for it. Why? Because we are given a time period. If you don't give this time period, it will wait until the child thread exits. But now it is not going to wait for it. Okay, because we are given a time period. So we can make it to wait until a specific time period, either by specifying the milliseconds here. If we don't specify the milliseconds, it is going to wait until the T1 is going to exit from the program. Means here there is no time bound. There is no time bound here. But if you give a time, means there is a time bound which is going to be present at that location. So that is the difference what we have between the join with parameter and a join without parameter. Okay. Thank you for watching the video. For more videos, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Naresh IT.